Looky here. I killed a poor, sad little scorpion. I feel so sorry for him. He just must have rolled over and smashed him. So I had to hike in the dark last night to get to where I am, which, as you can see, is a forest and not a pine forest. It's a forest in the middle of the desert, Mesquite forest. So anyway, I'm in a nettle patch, which is good because the stinging nettles are food and fiber. Although I found some things out here, or seen some things walking by that I would rather eat than nettle. And also, it was dark, overcast, and starting to rain. You know, it was kind of sprinkling off and on. So I decided to go ahead and make use of the trash bags I had with me. Well, actually, I added a couple more. There were 3 in there already. And one I put over my backpack as I was hiking. And that became the wall of this trash bag tent. I'm going to show you how I made it. The quality maybe isn't as good as a store-bought tent, but it's a lot cheaper. What you're looking at is 4 large trash bags. They're the Glad bags that are reinforced so they don't tear. 4 trash bags, pretty cheap there. Some duct tape, a little bit of polycord. Paracord is the same thing. This cord here mostly is cord that I reused, that I've used for other things, and just stuffed it back into the backpack. I started by opening up a trash bag lengthways, of course cutting it along the seams on both sides, and then taping that down to this dead tree, taping it there, and then taping the seams between the trash bags so the roof was 3. The side trash bag was the one that I threw over my, wrapped around my backpack, so that's why it has holes in it, and that's why it's on the side. This, of course, I could have taped up better, but it wasn't raining hard. It was basically sprinkling, and I didn't end up needing to waste that tape because it didn't really pour. It just rained a little bit. Trash bag number 5 that I had in there could have become another side wall or on the back. To show you what I did with trash bag number 5, it's a rain poncho, yay! All I did was cut a slit at the neck, cut slits on the sides, and done. Although I could have my arms on the inside too if I didn't want them to get wet, but obviously on the outside I can work. And inside, jackets, sweater, that sort of stuff becomes a pillow, and the firewood that is planned to use is put under there to keep it mostly dry. Tent stakes. These are actually just sticks. Tied. The cord is tied around the plastic, tied down to the stick. In the case of this one, the stick is just shoved right through the plastic into the ground. There you go. So the thing about trash bags, and the reason I bring it up and that I have them with me and I wanted to do this demo making a tent out of them and all that stuff, is the idea is it's cheaper than a tent. It takes up less space, it's lighter, and it's more versatile. You can use it for everything. So if you couldn't find a tent, if you were really dirt poor, if you just wanted versatility, yes, tents are made better, they'll hold up better, They're easier to set up and tear down if you get one of these pop-ups, you know. But I think it's good for people to know what you can do with a good garbage bag. You can put garbage in it. Oh, yeah. A little note on the fire. There's no reason to cut this wood, because the fire itself will cut the wood. If you lay either the end of the stick into the fire, or just lay the wood across the fire, then of course it'll burn in half, or the end will burn down, and you just shove it into the fire as it burns down. Last night what I would do is I would lay the ends towards me so I could just reach out of the sleeping bag and just push them into the fire. So I'm going to go out in search of some slightly tastier than nettle food and take a look around too. I know there's a river right behind me there. Canaigre. I don't know how you say that. Rhubarb anyway. So looks like I've hit the jackpot. Way better than stinging nettle. Yeah. And brassica. Alright. So you know about desert rhubarb, you know about brassica. These are in other videos. That can go in there too. Brassica family plants are known to be loaded with vitamin C and also to have anti-cancer properties, although if you boil them, and I'm I have no idea if there's ever even been research on this species of brassica, but as a general rule, you know, brassica is loaded with anti-cancer properties. But if you boil it, then that diminishes the anti-cancer properties. So if you have cancer, for instance, or if you're susceptible to it, boiling is the wrong way to prepare it. You can saute it, you can steam it, you know, anything other than allowing that nutrition to float away in the water. I'm especially interested in these little tiny pods, because I know when I boil these up, they're going to be tender, whereas the big ones may be very tough and hard to chew. I have to hurry, the rain's starting to come again. On a tripod, the way you establish the distance between the pot and the fire is by spreading the legs of the tripod out farther to lower it, or bringing them together to raise the pot. In keeping with being me, I'm going to put a couple experimental things in there. This little forest could take care of somebody for a long time. There's, of course, all the rhubarb here now and the stinging nettle. There are berries that aren't ripe yet, that are edible. The mesquite trees are all going to grow pods. They just have the buds. They haven't flowered here yet, but after that they'll grow pods. And depends on the type of mesquite. Some of those you can break open and just take the seeds and eat them when they're green. Others you have to wait till they dry up and grind them and make a flour. But anyway, the point is, as long as the water's here, you could live here and eat and be comfortable for quite a while. All year if the water was here all year, but the water won't be. The thing is, the Verde River was a forest, the length of the whole river, until this place was so-called civilized. And when that happened, of course, the water's rerouted through the pipes. Now it goes into people's houses. So the river, at least this little branch of the river here, is usually dry. It's only got water in it when it's been raining. So the rain is a blessing. You might think, oh, it rained out his camp, you know. No, actually, I wanted the rain. That was the whole point. So, because as long as it keeps raining, there's still water in the river. As long as there's water in the river, you could live here. So, it's a good camp spot. I'm glad I accidentally stumbled across it last week. Holy mother. I wonder if I overboiled it. I'm gonna guess it's probably done. This is actually not orange juice, as the label says, but it's water that I poured off of my breakfast here. So, experimentally, I'm gonna try to keep the nutrition that got boiled out of the plants in the form of a drink, and maybe I'll like it. Who knows? I mean, I've liked weirder stuff, I think. I'm not done with my fun yet. There's definitely a better way to do this, and I'm not doing it. Okay. This is gonna be scary. Bon appetit. Believe it or not, it just needs salt. Beyond that, it's really good. But probably overcooked, because I think I pretty much cooked the flavor out of it. That's okay, because I saved the water from it. In fact, this is one of my hiking water bottles. It's got a little bit of, you know, when I poured it into here, it's still got a little bit of food in it too, so that's okay. And the, let's call it vitamin water, is actually pretty good too. It tastes like a vegetable drink. And thank God there's no sweetener added. Oh, speaking of salt, I know where to find salt. Somebody's probably going to want to know. My homemade spoon is a spork. It's carved, so it's kind of a little of both. I can jab food with it, or I just pick it up like a spoon. Found some verbena, another medicine herb, so that's going to go with me into a bag for drying and using later. Let's run. You know, every time I'm in the mood to get moving, I find some delicacy. Can basically just break it, bend it. That's all I did, is just kind of bend it and break it. And then the little mustard seeds are in my hand, and they're really good that way, just raw. After it's dried out, they're awesome. Okay, gotta run again. You see how this is? How can I not take a pit stop to pick some big old berries? Holy cow! They're giant, they're ripe, they're weird tasting, but totally wild. No pesticides. Okay, there's probably aluminum from the cloud seeding, spraying BS. Besides aluminum that causes Alzheimer's, look, totally natural and organic. Yay, fruit. When I say weird tasting, I mean they really are good, but you're not expecting the very faint, strange kind of bitter taste. It's very faint. It's mostly sweet and very juicy, like any, you know, the kind of berries you're used to eating. But you know, that's the first flavor that hits you, is like, wow, this is strange. But then you eat a whole mouthful of these, they're really good. They're like addictive, you know, once you start picking them, and you just can't stop. And there's way more than I could ever pick, so I gotta get going. Wild donkey. Where there's a cow. And a bird with 5 toes. If I had to guess, I'd say all those fish in there are roughly about 2 feet long. Somewhere in that range. Big lake fish that just swam upstream and gonna get themselves stranded here until somebody brings a fishing pole. Here's salt. And it's in a dry creek bed. Now let me explain to you how I know this is salt. We have to go back in time. So I'm walking up this ravine and I see this white stuff kind of collected on top of the rocks. Can you see that white on there? And I decide, I get this wild hair up my crack, you know, and I decide I want to find out what it is. So, you know, I get a little on my finger, and guess what it is? It's salt. Unlike sugar that comes on a sugarcane plant, salt actually can be found out in the desert every now and then if you know what you're looking for. Remember in Death Valley, there's that one salt bed that's just salt rocks, you know, salt crystals just laying on top of the ground. But here you'll discover that some of the natives who lived here had sources also for salt. And aside from just flavoring things like soups and stews and meats and whatever, back before there was refrigeration, I know in the Middle East, like in places like Israel, they would pack meat in salt as a preservative. And it would help preserve the meat, and it would also help cut down on the flavor of meat that's going bad. Score! This is salt, ladies and gentlemen. Dip in water, just scrape off the dirt, whatever you need to do, and carry a chunk of salt with you. And whenever you need salt, you got it. So incidentally, the salt mine is right where I parked my car, of course. So I should have thought about it, but I was in a hurry, actually, because my hike was partly in the dark. It was about 7 o'clock. Hiking included scaling cliffs to go down into that little ravine where the mesquite forest is, and but that's all right because I can see at night. Who needs night vision goggles? I am night vision goggles.